Shut up! I'd just like to say a big thank you to William Henry for the support and encouragement he's given me to make the Okay, so we're at St Michael's Church in Brent Knoll, and Brent Knoll being Mount Sion, as I say, and within these walls of St Michael's Church we have a physical embodiment of Yahweh, Jehovah, or the Tetragrammaton. And it's important because Yahweh lives on Mount Sion, and Yahweh literally does live in this church at the foot of Mount Zion, on Mount Zion, and the Garden of Eden or Paradise is at the foot of Mount Zion. And when we go up to the summit of Mount Zion, we will literally see.
Okay, so why do you think this is Mount Zion when the majority of people in Somerset would know this as Brent Knoll?
Well, basically, first and foremost, Brent Knoll was called the Mount of Frogs. Now, they were able to call it a mount or mountain because there was no actual measurement for how high a mountain was. So all hills or large hills they would call a mountain. Now, secondly, the reason why I call it Mount Sion rather than Brent Knoll or the Mount of Frogs is because the Garden of Eden or Paradise is at the foot of Mount Sion, as you will see when we get to the top of Mount Sion. But from the dairy or the garden you can clearly see Mount Sion.
But would you not be able to see this from various points? Why is that important?
Well, Paradise it physically is there. We know it was called Paradise. It's an actual place. That is actually at the foot. As you go down from here, if we went straight, well, you see, when we go up there, straight down, you will be in Paradise, literally.
And why was it called Paradise?
Well, as I said in one of the previous videos, the legend goes when Joseph sojourned here at Paradise in a ship of Tarshish coming from the Holy Land, they called it Paradise because when they landed, what greeted them and the landscape that greeted them was absolutely lush pastures, and I like to think apple trees and fruit bearing trees.
Does it say this anywhere?
Does it say
that this is where that's why they called it that, or is this something that you've kind of figured out based on
that's how the legend goes in the Histoire Saint Graal, or the Robert de Boron's original work about Joseph and the Holy Grail. But also there's
and so did he say that it came here?
Pardon?
Did he say it came here?
Yes, and also Wolfram von Eschenbach, his story of Parsifal, which is like a sort of romantic sort of Parsifal was one of the knights of the Round Table, searching for the Fisher King and the Holy Grail Castle. There are a few different literary pieces of work about Joseph and the Grail coming to England, but also basically the legend goes that Joseph of Arimathea was Jesus's, well, there's some debate whether he was his uncle. Some say it could have been his brother, Some says it was Mary, his mother, not Mary Magdalene's brother. But there is some debate on who exactly Joseph was, and also the Arimathea part within the Golden Age work. Tim, Christian O'Brien, and Barbara Joy O'Brien. Basically, they say that Arimathea is actually a wrong pronunciation. It should be Haramateo, which basically means crown prince. So they were of a royal family, but then when you start going into this whole the bloodline and the royal family of the Holy Family, you open up another can of worms completely, because it harks back to the Hyksos pharaohs, and then it gets even bigger and further wider apart. So trying to keep on to the subject of paradise and Joseph and the Grail, that is where the legend comes from. So I was looking for some light switches, because it's obviously a bit dark in here. I pulled the curtain back. I was amazed to find this absolutely beautiful tile work. Now, something to, straight away, something important for me, as I say, that within my whole story and the whole sort of understanding of it for me was, wherever you see squares within squares is also always a sign within all the old artwork, all the Renaissance art, everywhere there'd be this grid work or squares within squares, and you can clearly see squares within squares here in abundance. Also, we have the sort of old-fashioned sort of Tudor rose and the checkerboard as well. But the Tudor rose, I believe this could be sort of Rosicrucianism, and might be why they're sort of covering it up. But also you've got this cross here. Now, the original crucifix, or the crucifix of what we're told now is in this one here, is like the cross with a longer bottom than top. It isn't what it should have been. The original sort of cross was like the Celtic cross, where you have 4 equal sized points with a circle around it, and in the middle you've got this quatrefoil, or like 4-leaf clover, which is same as the font, which we'll see shortly. But I mean, look at it. You've also got the fleur de lis, which is the emblem for the old French. Well, it's called France now, but it was the old original coat of arms for the French nobility, royal family. But also you've got this absolutely beautiful Celtic style knotwork. So it all joins in very nicely, sort of showing different aspects and how actually Roman Catholicism, as I sort of garbled the other day about paganism, Roman Catholicism is a very pagan religion, and as you see with all this knotwork, it's very, very old school pagan style. So there you go. Okay, so here we have the font, the original font, and once again it's the quatrefoil, the 4-leaf clover type effect, as I said, and same as in Baroque church, and it's all over the place within the iconography of Christianity. So there you go. Once again, it's the same as what we had found on the tiles.
But what does that mean?
Well, it's like originally it would have been like a place of worship, or a safe place to worship.
What, the font? The
font. No, the font, the shape of the font. Should we actually have a quick look up of what it actually, because on Paul Cook's stuff it showed these 4 things, so you could get them on all sorts of. There's a thing, find out with me, it's like a healing place. It's a healing place.
The font? No,
the 4-leaf. The
right.
Font is where they, well, fountain basically, what font means, isn't it? Okay, so we are here in St. Michael's Church, and we have a lovely tapestry of St. Michael. Now, Brent Knoll, or the Mount of Frogs, denoting it's a mountain, it was a mountain, I am saying is Mount Sion. And Yahweh, or Jehovah, actually lived on Mount Zion.
And St Michael's protector of that. So having a church called St Michael's at the bottom of Brent Knoll to protect it speaks for itself.
It does. And also,
It's all kind of simple.
as you will see, Yahweh, Jehovah, or the Tetragrammaton as the name of the word, actually lives in the church on Mount Zion, and actually, literally, Yahweh lives on Mount Zion.
So you're saying he's living here now?
I'm saying, yeah, he is, because
St Michael is.
St Michael is. And
What,
so
lives here?
Yeah, he does. He does live here. This is his house.
He's got the west wing.
He's got the west wing. But the important thing is that Yahweh, or the Tetragrammaton, which is the Hebrew or the original name or writing for Yahweh or Jehovah, is physically in the church. So whether he is God or whatever they want to call him, he actually lives in the church on Mount Zion. Fact.
What is Tetragrammaton? I've not really got to grasp that.
So the Tetragrammaton is the actual the layout, or the, I want to say, not Aramaic.
Is it like Latin?
No, it's old Hebrew.
Tetra meaning something.
Is it like tetrahedron?
Well, that's what I always thought. I always thought it was like a geometric shape, but actually it's the layout of the words.
Because that's the grammar.
There you go.
Tetragrammaton.
Tom. Yeah.
It's quite simple when you break it down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Grammar.
Tom.
Figuring it out.
We're just getting it. We're doing it. I was live figuring it out. I mean, you don't get any more raw than that. This is why folks keep coming back.
Squares within squares. Look.
Within squares.
Squares within squares.
Within squares.
Within squares. Within squares. Within squares. Even.
And what does that mean, though?
Well, I'm basically
squares inside each other. So you've got a square.
I know that,
a square within that.
What does
then there's a square within that.
But what's the meaning?
Basically,
It means they're inside each other.
Okay, so we got another brilliant example of the squares within squares on this beautiful tapestry prayer kneeling mat. You've got literally squares within this whole thing, but it's also the Knights Templar, Cross of St. George, the dragon here, but the whole thing is literally squares within squares. Now, the reason why I bang on about squares within squares is because when I first realised about Paradise, this whole thing sort of started becoming a thing in my mind. Opposite the Paradise Dairies, there was a wall, but it was made of like cast concrete blocks, which had a square within a square within a square. And I thought to myself, it was just a really important thing, and I started noticing on all.
Why was it important?
Because I noticed on all the Renaissance artwork depicting the Ascension, literally every single piece of artwork had either a checkerboard or squares within squares. And I noted, and even in a church, everywhere you go in the church, all the floor, everywhere. It's literally, I mean, even this, look, squares within squares, squares within squares. It's literally, it's almost like it's like a fabric of life, really. But wherever you see these squares within squares, it's telling you that that's an important thing. So
anywhere where there's squares within squares.
Not anywhere, but within this context of churches or Paradise as an ideal, or within the artwork, instantly, if I see checkerboard or a square within a square or multiple levels, it just makes me instantly think, hang on a minute, this is like a subliminal message to you that this is important, you know. Okay, so we were wondering if there would be a blocked up entrance, a west facing entrance, and look what we have.
This one appears to have been blocked up again, like the others, at some point. I am now growing in confidence and like nearly 44% sure at some point that's what's been done to this.
Is there a reason why there's a plinth at the base of the door?
Yeah, there is, yeah. But you can see that it's blocked, it's been blocked up in a similar fashion to the others.
Come along
This church, I don't know if there's anything to read into, but there's loads of squirrels over that side. And over that side, dragonflies. What does that mean? Phil? South of the dragonflies, north of the squirrels.
I think it's
The age-old divide.
well, you know,
They have battles
basically,
on Midsummer's Eve.
yeah.
I'd
From
love to
whence
see
the
that.
dragon
I'd come to
flies, the squirrel squawks the lies.
Is that
that. Buy
traditional?
tickets. I'd pay like £28 a ticket to see that happening.
From whence the dragon
the Lord of the
flies,
dragonflies.
the squirrels eat the pies.
I'd like just to see 4 squirrels attacking Phil, to be honest.
One on each limb.
Well, actually, I found out that from an open evening about rescuing animals, the guy who's dealt with loads and been all over the world rescuing animals, he said the worst bite he'd ever had was from a squirrel. Absolutely ripped his,
Tell that.
nearly ripped his finger off.
Tell that to Terry Nutkins. He had a finger missing from an otter.
Not
Is
so,
he- is he
not
alive?
not so
I was
wrong,
just thinking that, I don't
but
know.
he's right.
I don't know if
Nutkins,
Is Nutkins dead? Is that a squirrel? Nutkins.
Squirrel Nutkins.
Jesus. It's
Squirrel.
oh my god.
This is an homage to you, Mr. Squirrel Sniper. Great view for the summit of Mount Sion from here. Holy Mount Sion. Holy Mount Sion.
Is that him?
No, it's her. Oh.
It's a terrible shame, vandalism by cows. A good friend of mine was up on the hill, they charged him, he hid behind this stone and it just butted and broke the slab. Terrible shame, but it saved his life. The Godstone.
my friend Katja, I was explaining to her about. Well, she listened to that video I told you about. She said, "Bloody, I can't believe it, Phil. The woman has literally spelt it out." And I explained to her how I felt that the like in a funeral.
Come on. It's because you got their extra tooth in, mate. That's why.
Funerary, like a pyre boat.
Yeah.
They sail out into the sun, and she said, "Oh yeah, Burnham on sea."
Burnham.
Burnham
sea.
on
It
sea.
used to be called Burnham to a Crisp.
But hold on, it was the railway that put the
Yeah,
old
yeah,
sea
I
on.
do explain that to her. It was a Victorian time, but still,
Yeah.
Burnham.
What?
Oh, guys,
What?
the raven is Odin.
There he is.
Look, wow, the raven is Odin, and that is so I talk about animism. I've never actually seen a raven in the wild, and but we've just seen a raven, and quite emotional about that. To be fair,
Why?
Odin is
You can hear it. It makes it like a noise.
wow.
They've got diamond tails.
So Odin is like the Norse, or in England with the Saxons who's called Woden, and Odin, the All-Father, he. So when Vikings, when they see the raven and they knew that Odin was with them, it was an amazing omen because it showed them that they had him on their side.
And that's what we've just seen.
Okay, so I'd like to wrap this up. On top of Mount Sion, we've been to Yahweh's house. We've seen the physical Yahweh living on Mount Sion. We've seen his house. We've seen the garden from up here. We've seen where the four rivers meet, and we've seen Saint Michael, Archangel Michael, and we've seen an awful lot of pagan symbolism, which is very interesting. And also the raven, or Odin, showing us his appreciation and his support for the Pathfinders, who are literally supported by the gods.